is a man going into very much the lion's den of Roman Catholicism and saying, you must live and rule according to the revelation that I have. Here we see Dee in the role as prophet. Here we see Dee as a man convinced of his mission and willing to put his life on the line to deliver that message.
Rudolph was both astounded and intrigued by Dee's speech. Whilst Dee waited anxiously for the Emperor's reaction, the angels became impatient, ordering Dee to deliver a new message to Rudolph.
It was obvious that some new PR strategy was needed on behalf of the angels. It was at this point that the angels apparently suggested to Dee that the Philosopher's Stone would be enough of a crowd puller to get people like Rudolph on their side.
When Edward Kelly first arrived at Mortlake, he had a small bag of red powder that he said had been stolen from an ancient site at Glastonbury. He believed it to be the vital ingredient that would help make the Philosopher's Stone.
The Philosopher's Stone being the formula that would basically give the person who had it the alchemical means of turning a base metal into gold, but also any form of sort of purification, indeed the secret of life, effectively.
This Philosopher's Stone was a world-changing concept. The Philosopher's Stone was the H-bomb. If you had the Philosopher's Stone, you had complete financial and thus military superiority over every other nation in the world.
Rudolph chose to ignore Dee's ominous prophecy, but the prospect of finding the Philosopher's Stone proved irresistible. He decided to allow Dee and Kelly to set up an alchemical laboratory in Bohemia. Dee and Kelly set about trying to produce gold. The dream of finding the Philosopher's Stone had been an obsession in Europe for centuries. With advances in chemistry and metallurgy, the belief that it might be possible to make gold from base metal reached a fever pitch in 16th century Bohemia. Český Krumlov was one of the great centers for alchemy, and some of the original alchemical materials still survive.
This has to be the part of the building where they were. All kinds of stuff in here. Oh my goodness, look. These are definitely alchemical. This is some sort of scrolls. Scrolls, got symbols here.
Oh wow, look at that. Definitely a magical text then.
Yep.
Yeah, look, it's definitely, yeah. There's a magical spell there.
Yeah.
Satora.
Yeah, let's see, Arapol here, Opera here.
Rotas is Sator. Yeah.
Sator Rotas. Something to do with Solomon's key.
Key of Solomon.
Oh my goodness, what's this?
That's definitely powder, isn't it?
Yeah, powder. This could be the very powder that they were using to produce gold 500 years ago. Here in Bohemia, yeah.
Wow.
They truly believed they could make gold, yes.
Rumors that the famous Dr. Dee had found the secret of the Philosopher's Stone spread across Europe like wildfire.
You can see why people like the Tsar in Russia would have been offering Dee and Kelly a fortune to go and work as the Russian alchemist. You can see why Elizabeth herself was getting nervous, was worried in case Dee and Kelly were out there creating gold for foreigners, in which case she was insistent that they be returned home to create gold for England.
Throughout this period, the angelic conversations continued. The angels repeatedly told Dee that he would soon be given the key to using the Enochian language. When the Pope heard that Dee was being granted audiences with Emperor Rudolph, he sent spies to investigate.
The Catholic authorities in particular did not regard Dee as some sort of dodgy sorcerer who had just come in and was trying to make trouble. Papal authorities saw Dee basically manipulating Rudolph in a way that would be dangerous to their own needs, their own tactics.
The Pope's spies reported back to Rome that Dee was an important and dangerous adversary, and the author of a new heresy, predicting that Rome was about to fall.
Anybody who claims to have God's personal mobile number is a tremendous threat to the established church. The church, in spiritual terms, is a collection of middlemen. If you had an entire population who were capable of communicating with spiritual forces for themselves, then popes, priests, cardinals, bishops, all of these would have been redundant. That was the threat that John Dee posed to the religious authorities. Anybody who had information or knowledge which didn't fit with the established orthodoxy was cruising for a bruising.
Pope Sixtus, determined to get rid of Dee at any cost, presented a document to the emperor accusing Dee of being a black magician. Papal ambassadors made repeated demands to question Dee, and they tried to seize the heretical books of angelic conversations. Finally, the Pope demanded that Dee and Kelly come to Rome.
Being asked questions by the Inquisition was seldom a comfortable position to be in, not least because the entire process could quite easily end up with you being barbecued.
They refused to go to Rome, but Pope Sixtus finally forced Emperor Rudolf to expel Dee and his family from the Holy Roman Empire. They were given 6 days to get out of the empire and fled Prague in fear for their lives. Expulsion from the Holy Roman Empire once again saw John Dee, Edward Kelly, and